I still remember that afternoon when I was in the fourth grade and all the girls came running out of the bathroom screaming. Now, us boys, we were on the playground and we saw all the girls swarming at us at the playground, screaming bloody murder. And I saw my friend Sylvia and I asked her, Sylvia, what's going on? She was running out of breath. She said, David, we went into the bathroom, in the girls' bathroom. We locked the door and we turned out the lights and we did the Bloody Mary thing. We've all heard about the Bloody Mary thing. We looked in the mirror and said her name 3 times, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary. We kept on saying it. We kept looking in that dark mirror and David, I swear we saw her. All the other boys on the playground, they just scoffed and they laughed and they cast their macho poses, but not me. I was worried. I believed Sylvia. I knew it was true. They had seen Bloody Mary. I was sure of it. Now, this is the story of why I feared Bloody Mary so much. And it's the story of how that old American urban legend intersects with a much more modern Japanese urban legend, the story of the cursed poem, Tominos Hell. And it's the story of how I decided to finally use that cursed poem from Japan to exorcise the memory, the fear of Bloody Mary out of my own head. And that's what I'm going to do tonight with all of you. Now, most of you've probably heard the story of Bloody Mary. The idea, as Sylvia mentioned, you go into a dark bathroom, you stare in the mirror and you say Bloody Mary's name. You can pick a different ghost, you say their name and you stare at your own reflection. And they say that if you do it long enough, your reflection will start to transform and take on the form of Bloody Mary, this ghost with blood running down her face. Some people say that they've done this ritual, this child's party game, and some people say they've come out of the bathroom with scratch marks on their face. But when I heard Sylvia say that, I knew exactly what she was talking about because I had read about this in a book that I had, that some of you probably had if you grew up in the same time that I did, in the 80s, early 90s in the US. These books were all the rage. They were Alvin Schwartz's Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Terrifying books. Just had these gruesome black and white images that would stick in your head and pop up in your nightmares. But for some reason, that story, the story of the ghost in the mirror, that's how he titles it in the book, that story stuck with me more than all the others. I mean, just the thought of going into the bathroom in the dark and of something looking back at you through the mirror, something being on the other side, terrified me. So ever since I read that story, from then on, when I would go into the bathroom, I had a whole ritual where first I would crack the door open, I'd reach my hand in and turn the light on first. And then I'd go in and I'd do my thing. And then as I was going out, I'd make sure my whole body was outside of the bathroom, keep one hand inside the bathroom. At the very end of that hand would flick the light switch off, and then I'd snatch that hand out and leave the dark bathroom all by itself. But still, I could have sworn that I felt something brushing against my hand as I pulled it out. I couldn't stop thinking about something being in the mirror in that dark bathroom. Now, I really wanted to prove this story wrong. I wanted to disprove it, but I was too chicken to try it myself. So I went to my dad. That was the perfect solution. I thought, I'll just tell my dad. I mean, I'm 90% sure it doesn't work. I'm 90% sure there's not a ghost in the mirror, but I'll tell my dad to go in there, do the whole ritual, call up Bloody Mary or whatever ghost, and then he'll do it and he'll come out and say, yeah, see, David, there's nothing here. And that'll be it. That'll be an end to my fears. So I went to my dad and I talked to him about it. And he said, David, I'm not going to do that. That's dangerous. To try to call up a spirit like that, that's dangerous. You see, we lived in a world where we believed that kind of thing could happen. I grew up in a very conservative religious world. And in those really conservative religious circles that we ran in, we believed that the world was haunted by demons everywhere. A lot of religions believe in demons or evil spirits, but we believed that they were just almost omnipresent. They were always lurking around the next corner, and you could accidentally call one up. You could accidentally invoke one by saying the wrong thing or thinking the wrong thing or listening to the wrong rock music. Believe that that was possible. So, yeah, for us, we believe that by doing the Bloody Mary game in the mirror, you might actually call up something evil. That old phrase, speak of the devil and he appears. Well, we believed that was literally true. You see this in movies all the time, horror stories, horror movies. The reason the paranormal activity movies, they have a lot of that. When you watch them, that there's that idea that the way that you deal with evil is by just not thinking about it, don't invoke it, don't talk about it. And that's the only way. You can never really defeat it or overcome it. The best you can do is just try to push it out of your mind. Now, in the world that I grew up in, that's the way we treated a lot of our figurative, metaphoric devils also. We didn't talk about them. Those uncomfortable feelings, those uncomfortable family dynamics, you didn't face them head on. You didn't confront them. You just ignored them, pushed them way down, and tried to keep them out of your conscious mind. Now, all this talk of devils and Bloody Mary, that brings me to Tominos Hell, the Japanese urban legend. Now, it's about a real poem. The poem exists. It's a Japanese poem called Tominos Hell, Tomino no Jigoku. It was published in 1919. It was a collection of poetry by the Japanese poet Saijo Yaso. And this poem is real. Now, the urban legend about the poem says that if you read this poem out loud, it will curse you, sometimes kill you even. So when I heard about this urban legend, I saw a connection to the Bloody Mary story, to that idea that the only way to be protected from something is to not say it, not speak its name, not talk about it, just ignore, deny. Now, I don't think that way anymore. I've done a lot of growing up since then, and I actually believe that the opposite is true. That the true way to actually deal with darkness, with scary things, things that are harmful, that are frightening, is to confront them, to deal with them head on. That's the only way to deal with true evil in our world. So when I heard about Tominos Hell, this idea of a cursed poem, you're not allowed to say this poem or it'll curse you, I knew I had to try it. So I think tonight is a good night to try it. Now, this is a chance for me to exercise those figurative demons from my past, those old irrational fears. So what I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to read to you parts of that cursed poem, Tominos Hell. Now, I'm going to start with the English version, so don't worry just yet. You don't have to be afraid. The consensus from all the urban legends that I read online from Japan is that the translated version of this poem doesn't have the same power. It doesn't activate the curse. So don't worry. I won't read the Japanese version until the very end here, and I'll give you a warning if you would like to leave before then. Now, I'll read you some verses from an English translation. This is by translator, author, and poet David Bowles. And this is a translation into English from the Japanese. Now, I should warn you, it has some disturbing imagery of a little child going to hell. So here are some verses. Tomino's Hell. The elder sister vomits blood. Younger sister is breathing fire, while sweet little Tomino just spits up jewels. All alone does Tomino go falling into that hell, a hell of utter darkness, without even flowers. Is Tomino's big sister the one who whips him? The purpose of the scourging hangs dark in his mind. Down past the 7 mountains and 7 rivers of hell, the solitary journey of sweet little Tomino. If in this hell they be found, may they then come to me, please, those sharp spikes of punishment from Needle Mountain. Not just on some empty whim is flesh pierced with blood-red pins. They serve as hellish signposts for sweet little Tomino. So it's a gruesome poem, very disturbing. Now, I did a little research online. I tried to find people who had tried this out, and I found some people who claimed that they read it out loud, and they said that they felt dizzy, they got headaches, they got nausea from all over the world, too. One person in Malaysia read it that week, her cat died. That same week, she herself got food poisoning and she almost got in a car accident. There's a young man from the South American country of Uruguay. He and all his friends read it out loud, and they all had just terrible bad luck, misfortune, and horrible, vivid nightmares after they read this poem out loud. But I don't believe it. I don't believe that's how it works. By fearing something, by avoiding something, you only give it more power. So I'm going to challenge that right here tonight with all of you. I'm going to read this, the original Japanese version. Now, if you're at all uncomfortable or worried about bad vibes or just want to be on the safe side, this is your chance to leave now. Here's a reading from the poem. Tomino no Jigoku. 姉は地を吐く。妹は非吐く。かわいいとみんのは玉を吐く。一人地獄に落ちゆきとみの。地獄暗闇花もなき。Okay, so that was just my cell phone if you heard that. I don't, somebody texted me, but there's no paranormal activity in here, nothing weird going on. So let's keep reading. 無知で叩くは富野の姉か。無知の思想が気にかかる。叩けや叩きやれ叩かずとても。無限地獄は無限地獄は一つ道。No, I don't think that's how it works. There's no such thing as cursive poems. But you know what? I'll stop reading for now, just in case, just to be on the safe side.